I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We met in college. I was the quiet guy. She was the fiery one. For a while, it seemed like everything was perfect. Happy weekends, good jobs, even talking about kids someday. But over the last few months, I started noticing little things, things that didn't add up. At first, it was her phone acting weird. She'd hide it when I came into the room, and when I asked her about it, she'd brush it off like I was being paranoid. She'd say, "It's just work stuff," or "My friends from college are texting me." I let it slide, thinking maybe I was overreacting. But then I caught her in a lie about where she went last Thursday. She said she was at her sister's house, but I found her car at some guy's place a few blocks away, dropped off, parked with her makeup bag in the passenger seat. That's when I started digging. I decided to check her phone more carefully. I had always trusted her, but I figured I needed to see if she was hiding something. One night I snuck into the bedroom while she was out. I looked through her messages, her photos. Nothing really jumped out at first, until I found a string of texts from someone named Jake. They weren't just friendly, they were flirtatious, teasing each other about how much they wanted to see each other, how crazy each one of them got when they were alone. It was clear they'd been doing more than just texting, but what shook me the most was the photos. There were pictures of her in bed with her shirt half off, a smirk on her face, and a caption that said, "Can't wait for tonight." I almost dropped the phone. I'd never seen her like that before, so vulnerable and naked in a way I didn't think she ever would be with me. And she was doing it with some guy I'd never even heard of. My mind spun. How long has this been going on? When did I stop being enough? I felt this surge of anger and betrayal. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I'd need a plan. I needed to understand what I was dealing with before I went off half-cocked. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd just seen. It felt like my world was collapsing. She's my wife, the woman I loved, and she's been lying to me for months. How did I miss all the signs? Why did I trust her so blindly? That's how it all started. I thought I knew her. But now I realize I never really did. I just thought I did. And that's the part that's eating me up inside. I can't lie, deep down, I feel broken. I feel stupid for not noticing sooner. And I feel furious that she could be so callous, so willing to betray everything we built. I don't know what I'll do next, but I know I can't keep pretending that everything's okay. My mind's racing, and I'm already planning what comes next. The next day was a blur. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, all the adrenaline and shock from the night before still pounding through me. I kept going over everything I saw on her phone, her texts, her photos, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized how deep this betrayal ran. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs, how I didn't see the warning flags waving right in front of me. Lisa was still asleep beside me when I got out of bed. Normally, I try to avoid waking her early, but today I needed answers. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her, trying to find that piece of her that I once loved. But all I saw was a stranger, someone who had been lying to me for months. I felt this rage bubbling up, the kind that makes your hands shake. I knew I couldn't just sit there and pretend everything was fine anymore. I had to confront her. I waited until she woke up, which took longer than usual. She was sluggish, groggy, and when her eyes finally fluttered open, I could see the flicker of guilt or maybe just defiance behind them. She looked at me like I was supposed to be the one who didn't know, like I was supposed to be clueless. She tried to crack a smile, but it didn't quite reach her. "So," I said, voice tight, "we need to talk." She blinked, then sat up, tossing her hair back. "What's there to talk about, Mark? I'm tired, can't it wait?" I didn't buy that act. I pushed forward. "I saw the messages from Jake, the pictures, the way you've been lying to me. Tell me what the hell is going on." Her face shifted into this look of pure contempt, like I was a fool for even asking. "Oh, it's nothing, Mark. Just some stupid flirtation, nothing serious. You're overreacting." She crossed her arms. "You're jealous like always. You think every guy I talk to is after me, but I swear it's just sex talk, stupid, harmless fun." Her words didn't match her tone. They were defensive, almost angry, like she was annoyed I'd caught her. I didn't buy it, not for a second. I could see right through her bullshit. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I knew she'd been cheating on me, and that I wasn't going to let her pretend it was all just some innocent game. That's when she got bitchy, the sneer curling on her lips. Oh, so. Now I'm a cheater, really? You think I'd do that to us? You're crazy, you're just insecure. She shook her head, rolling her eyes. You're accusing me of something I didn't do. You're just paranoid, probably jealous of Jake because I don't give you enough attention anymore. That was when I lost it. I told her I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. If she wanted to cheat, fine, but I was done. Done with her lies, done with the pathetic excuses. I told her I'd find out the truth on my own and that I wouldn't be played anymore. That's when she threw a tantrum, started crying, calling me a bastard, saying I didn't deserve her and that I was just insecure and controlling. It was all a bullshit act. What she was really doing was trying to gaslight me, make me doubt myself. I felt my stomach turn. The betrayal cut so deep, I couldn't breathe right. I kept thinking about the pictures, the texts, her lies. I realized I'd been a fool, believing in this perfect marriage that was never so perfect. I'd trusted her blindly, and all I got in return was a woman who was screwing around behind my back, laughing at me on the other side of her phone. The thought made my blood boil. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her admit what she'd done. But I just sat there, staring at her, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. The emotional fallout was immediate. I was angry, yes, but also heartbroken. For the first time, I felt this crushing sense of loss, loss of trust, loss of hope, even loss of myself. I started questioning everything about our life together. Was I blind? Was I just fooling myself into thinking this was real? It was like my world was shattering into 1,000 pieces right in front of me, and all I could do was stand there, trying to hold it together while inside I was falling apart. After that confrontation, the days that followed felt like walking through a fog. I couldn't focus on anything except what I'd discovered, what I'd seen in her phone, and the image of her with that guy Jake. Every time I looked at her, I felt this mixture of disgust and sadness. She kept trying to spin her lies, acting like I was overreacting, like I was the one who was out of line. But it was clear to me now, her words didn't mean a thing. Her actions had already told me the truth. I stayed quiet during those days, trying to process everything. I couldn't bring myself to talk about it much, not yet. Part of me wanted to tear her apart in anger, but another part just wanted to understand what I was dealing with. Still, I knew I had to act, had to do something. I wasn't going to let her keep lying and twisting the knife. I had a plan, though I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I just knew I couldn't keep going on like this, living in this limbo. One night I decided to set a trap. Quietly, I installed a hidden camera in the living room, nothing fancy, just enough to record what was happening when I wasn't around. I wanted proof, real proof that she was still sneaking around, that she was lying to my face. I set it up, turned it on, and left it recording while she was supposedly out with her friends. I told myself I needed to see it all to get closure, even if it meant watching her betray me again. I was nervous, of course, but I also felt this strange sense of resolve. I needed to know the truth, no matter how ugly it was. A few days later, I checked the footage. It was worse than I imagined. I saw her sneaking out of the house late at night, her phone pressed to her ear. I saw her meeting Jake at some secluded spot, her leaning into him, laughing like they were the only two people in the world. They weren't just talking. They were making out, touching each other, doing things I'd never even imagined her capable of with me. The camera caught her in the act, not just flirting, not just sneaking around. She was fully committed to this affair, and that realization hit me like a punch in the gut. I remember watching it on the tiny screen, feeling my stomach churn. My hands clenched into fists. I'd thought maybe I'd get some kind of relief from finally seeing her cheating in action, but instead, it just made everything more real. The betrayal wasn't just words or pictures anymore. It was her, right there, on tape, doing what she wanted with him, ignoring everything we had. That night I stayed awake for hours, replaying the footage in my mind, trying to figure out what it all meant, how I was supposed to move forward from this. I knew I couldn't just confront her yet. I needed to be strategic. I was angry, yes, but I also knew I needed to get more evidence, more proof. If I was going to do this right, I had to be careful. I'd been blindsided, but I wasn't going to let her see that. I needed to know exactly how deep this went, what her intent was, and what she thought she was going to get away with. The thought of her with him, her body pressed against his, her lips on his, made me feel sick. But I also felt this burning need to fight back, to reclaim whatever dignity I had left. That's when I started planning my next move. I was already picturing how I was going to confront her, how I was going to show her I wasn't going to be lied to anymore. I needed her to understand that I wasn't some fool to be played. I needed to make her regret it somehow. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that yet, but I knew I'd figure it out. I had to. Because if I didn't, I was afraid I'd drown in this mess, lose what was left of myself. The more I watched that footage, the clearer it became that I was dealing with someone who didn't care about us, about the marriage, about the life we built. Lisa's attitude during that time was a mix of arrogance and defiance, like she was untouchable, like I was just some fool who wouldn't see what was right in front of him. I remember feeling sick, then angry, then hopeless. I'd trusted her for so long, and she'd just thrown it all away with some guy she barely knew. I decided I couldn't just confront her with the evidence. I needed to be smarter, more calculated. If I was going to do this, it had to be right, not some heated, rage-fueled explosion. So I waited. I kept the recordings hidden and I started planning my next move. I needed to know what she was thinking, what she truly wanted. I wanted to know how much she actually cared about me, or if I was just some placeholder for her until she found someone better. The thought made my stomach turn again. One evening, I sat her down. I was calm but cold, the kind of calm that makes people nervous because they know I'm about to lay something heavy on them. I told her I had some questions, that I'd seen some things I couldn't ignore anymore. She looked at me with that same bitchy sneer, trying to brush me off, saying I was overreacting, that I was just jealous and insecure. I cut her off. "Don't lie to me," I said. "I saw the videos, I know what you've been doing, and I want to hear it from you." She didn't just get defensive, she snapped. "You're crazy, you think I'd cheat on you? Seriously. You're just jealous Jake is better looking than you. Maybe you're not enough for me anymore, huh? Maybe I need something more exciting." Her words were venomous, like she was trying to hurt me, and honestly, it worked. My stomach twisted even more. I felt like I'd been punched again, this time in the chest. I told her that I wasn't going to be played anymore, that I knew the truth and that I was done with her bullshit. I was tired of her lies, her bullshit stories about work or how she needed space. I told her I'd seen her sneaking around, meeting Jake, doing sex shit, and I wasn't going to pretend it was okay. Her face twisted into this look of pure disdain, like I was the one who was wrong. She spat. "You're just insecure. Maybe if you were better in bed, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." That hit me like a punch in the gut. The rest of that night was chaos. She yelled, called me possessive, controlling, said I was making everything up. She stormed out and slammed the door behind her, leaving me sitting there in the dark. I stared at the wall, trying to breathe, trying not to lose my mind. I felt like I'd been betrayed by the woman I loved, and I was furious. Furious at her, at Jake, at myself for not noticing sooner. I kept replaying everything I saw, every lie she told, every time she looked me in the eyes and lied to my face. I knew then there was no turning back. I couldn't stay married to someone who so easily threw away everything for some guy. I didn't want to be some fool who kept pretending everything was fine. As angry and hurt as I was, part of me felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally seeing her true colors, and I knew I had to get out. I started thinking about what that meant for me, how I was going to end this, how I was going to pick up the pieces. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't keep living in this betrayal. I had to face the truth, even if it tore me apart. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking around in a daze. Every moment was a reminder of what I'd discovered, what she'd done. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept circling back to her face when I confronted her, to the lies she told, to the way she sneered at me like I was some kind of obstacle. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever heal from it, but amidst all that pain, I knew I had to make a choice, either keep fighting to save what was left or cut loose and start over. I decided I couldn't stay. Not with her cheating, not with the lies, not with the woman I thought I knew turning into a stranger. I started packing a bag, trying not to think about what was going to happen next. Part of me wanted to yell, to scream, to destroy everything she loved. But I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I planned my escape quiet, calculated. I wanted her to see I wasn't just going to roll over and accept this. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. One night, I waited until she was out. I grabbed my stuff, left quietly. No drama, no confrontation, just a silent exit. I had a place to stay nearby, a friend I trusted. I didn't want to do anything reckless, but I also couldn't stay in that house anymore. The betrayal was just too much. As I closed the door behind me, I felt this strange mixture of relief and emptiness, like I was finally free from the nightmare, but I also knew I'd be carrying this scar forever. Living alone was a shock. The house felt huge and hollow without her. Every room echoed her absence, and I couldn't shake the images from my mind. Her in bed with Jake, the way she lied, the way she sneered at me when I called her out. I started to realize how much I'd missed, how much I'd ignored, and how much I'd trusted her. The pain was sharp, but it also awakened something inside me, this drive to rebuild, to get stronger. I'd lost her, yes, but I wouldn't let that loss define me. I reached out to some friends, told them everything. They were furious for me, some even angry at her. They told me I deserved better, that I should cut her out completely. That was hard to hear, advice I knew was right but didn't want to accept. Still, I began making plans, figuring out what my next steps would be. I started thinking about therapy, about forgiving myself for trusting her so blindly. I realized I'd been blind for a while, caught up in the fantasy of what I thought we had, instead of seeing what was right in front of me. And slowly I started to get my strength back. I knew it wouldn't be easy, that I'd have nights when I'd doubt everything, but I was determined to move forward. I couldn't change what she did, but I could decide how I responded. I could learn from this, grow from it, and rebuild my life, better, wiser, more cautious. The betrayal hurt like hell, but it also made me realize I had to prioritize myself. I wouldn't let her destroy me, not entirely. Not after what I'd been through. I was done pretending everything was okay. It was time to start over, one step at a time. Looking back now, I realized that betrayal changed me in ways I didn't expect. It showed me how fragile trust really is, and how quickly everything can fall apart when someone you love chooses to betray you. I used to believe in happily ever after, in the idea that marriage was sacred and built on honesty. But that illusion was shattered. What I learned is that some people just aren't who they pretend to be, no matter how much you want to believe in them. Living alone has given me clarity. The house feels quieter, emptier, but strangely calmer. I don't wake up anymore with that gnawing suspicion in my gut. I slowly started rebuilding my confidence piece by piece. I've cut out the toxic lies, the fake smiles, the manipulation. I've come to see that my worth isn't tied to what she did or how she treated me. It's about respecting myself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't value me. I've also learned that revenge isn't about hurting her back. It's about reclaiming my peace. I didn't want to stoop to her level, but I did want to make sure she saw that I'm not some gullible fool she can manipulate anymore. I kept the footage, not to punish her, but to remind myself of what I survived, what I refused to tolerate. That knowledge, that strength has become my armor. Most importantly, I've come to terms with the fact that life moves on. No matter how betrayed or humiliated I felt, I can still find happiness again. I've started focusing on myself, my career, my friends, my passions. I've learned that I don't need someone else's approval to feel complete. It's been a hard road, but it's also been a necessary one. If there's one thing I want others to take from this, it's that no betrayal is final if you're willing to stand up and fight for your own peace. So yes, I'm healing, and I'm stronger for it. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm done living in the shadow of her lies. I've found my way back to myself, and that's all that matters now. Whatever comes next, I'll face it with honesty and integrity, things she never really understood. And I hope anyone out there going through something similar finds the courage to do the same. Because the only way out of betrayal is through it. And once you do, you come out on the other side, better, wiser, and finally free.